Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it is quite literally all kicking off now. It's taken some time to kick off, but what a Monday, and what a way to start the week. I said we maybe needed a little bit of patience in this window, a little bit of belief that the manager would get the right players in, and just like that, we're talking about a lot of players coming in. Welcome to Celtic Transfer Talk. Let's do this. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gents. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much for your support over the last few days as things have got suddenly very busy in the Celtic transfer world. We have a lot to talk about today. It's all kicking off. Woke up this morning, checked the phone, and it didn't stop there. More and more as the hours have gone past. By the time this is uploaded, who knows, we might have a left back through the door as well. Stick around with me, be patient. Apologies for the poor lighting, I can't do much about it. Let's just talk about what matters, and that is the transfer news. What a week in store for Celtic perhaps. Things are now kicking off. So as we all know, Kasper Schmeichel is set to become Celtic's new #1 sometime this week, with a medical penciled in for either Tuesday or Wednesday, so he could become an official Celtic player as early as Tuesday night if things go to plan. But it doesn't mean he's the only goalkeeper we are signing this window, because news has broken this afternoon in regards to a second goalkeeper signing that Celtic could be making very soon to come in and be the backup keeper to Kasper Schmeichel, and a younger goalkeeper who could very well be the understudy to become the successor to Kasper Schmeichel. This headline broke this afternoon courtesy of David Friel that Celtic are closing in on another new goalkeeper, with English Premier League stopper poised to join Schmeichel at Parkhead. The article goes on to say that Celtic are closing in on a deal to sign Aston Villa keeper Viljami Sinisalo. It was revealed by Sun Sport that the Finnish goalkeeper was on Celtic's radar back in May. So, one that's came out of nowhere. I know they were talking about in this article he's been on the radar since May, but someone's name who hasn't come up on the channel at all really this summer. He looks set to come in as the #2, replacing what you'd think would be the departing Benjamin Siegrist. The article also says that Sinisalo is now poised to move to Parkhead on a permanent deal as the clubs discuss a fee. They're also on the verge of completing the move for Kasper Schmeichel, as we all know. But Brendan Rodgers has an eye on Sinisalo for the future. Highly rated, and he's been targeted by Celtic. Capped 3 times by Finland. The 6'3" keeper spent last season on loan at Exeter City in League One. Now, Sinisalo is no stranger to Scottish football. He actually spent a bit of time on loan at Ayr United a couple of years ago. Of course, we took them on last week in a friendly, but he's played up here before. He's returned to his parent club in Aston Villa, where there doesn't seem to be much of a future for him. But after a decently impressive season at Exeter City last year, Brendan Rodgers seems keen to get him through the door to perhaps be the future #1 for this club, at least the backup to Kasper Schmeichel right now. But from talking about no goalkeepers signing on Friday afternoon and it looking very bleak, to now us having 2 perhaps coming through the door in the next week, is unbelievable. If you want to know more about the Finnish keeper, then last season he played 45 times for Exeter City in League One. In all competitions, he made 50 appearances in that time, keeping 14 clean sheets. A decent return for a goalkeeper at that level. And somebody, of course, still at a young age, capped 3 times for his national team. Definitely upside here when you consider the deal will probably be quite a cheap one for Celtic to wrap up. Aston Villa aren't desperate to keep the player, and they're looking to free up space. So valued currently at €600,000. Maybe this is a deal that will get close to the £1 million mark for Celtic and Aston Villa. But according to the Sun article, talks are taking place right now between Celtic and Aston Villa in regards of a transfer fee. This could happen really soon. So I'd be decently pleased with this. I've never seen him play myself, of course. It's not as if I'm watching Exeter City in League One. I'm not going to even pretend that I am. But doing the research this morning and this afternoon and having a look at some of the things online about him, seems a solid keeper. And there's definitely upside here for him coming in to be a number 2. Whether or not it does work out in the long term for him to become Celtic's number 1, we'll wait and see. But if he's willing to work hard enough, take the opportunities maybe in cup competitions when Brendan Rodgers gives him them, if he can impress, then this is a real good chance for development here and a real good opportunity for us to settle a conversation early. We might not need to talk about number 1s if we see that Sinisalo is good enough. So I welcome it with open arms, and it all of a sudden changes everything that I've been saying, especially. And I know a lot of people are in the same boat as me when it came to the Kasper Schmeichel stuff, but it suddenly changes a lot, doesn't it? We were complaining that maybe the board weren't looking into the future and that the Kasper Schmeichel stuff was very short-sighted of them. Well, they've done a kind of 2-in-1 special here. They've brought in a number 1 for a year to hold down the fort, who has a known quality, who's really, really good. But they've also went out and they're signing someone young to come in, be that number 2 and potentially be the number 1 when Kasper Schmeichel decides to hang up the gloves. Listen, under the guidance of Stevie Woods, their fantastic goalkeeping coach, and under the mentorship of a keeper like Kasper Schmeichel, and then generally the manager Brendan Rodgers, there is definitely an opportunity here for Sinisalo to come good for Celtic should he complete the move. So 2 keepers incoming at Celtic. You wouldn't have expected it this time last week, but here we are. Keep an eye on what happens. We'll keep you updated on the channel, and when he signs, we'll dive in deeper to find out more about the guy. And it doesn't stop there when it comes to transfer rumours and incomings at Celtic. If you've been watching me all summer, you know I have made it very, very clear that I think Celtic need a quality winger in this window. We need someone to come in on the wings, upgrade the final third of the park, and just generally bring a massive upgrade on the wingers that we already have. Today, an exciting report emerged online that Celtic are looking at a winger. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Because this was one that I have very much enjoyed looking into. Belgian football journalist Sasha Tavalieri has reported that Celtic are attracted to Royal Antwerp winger Michel-Ange Balikwisha. Pronunciation might not be quite there, but we're certainly trying. The Scottish club have entered into discussions with the player's entourage to explore the possibility of a deal this summer, as there is a confirmed interest for Balikwisha's profile. Clubs should have a talk this week to make some progress on the case. This is one that I woke up, looked at my phone this morning and thought, where has this come from? But I have welcomed it with open arms. I like the look of this. Let's talk about it. So if Sasha Tavalieri's report is to be believed, Celtic have already inquired about the Belgian winger, are interested in the Belgian winger, and not only interested in him, but a player of that profile, which kind of confirms we are in the market for a winger this transfer window. When doing my reading up this morning on the Antwerp winger, I must admit I like him. I like him a lot. There is a couple of red flags that kind of bring a little bit of doubt to the story, but we'll get to that in a minute. This is his stats from last season. He played 33 times in the Belgian Pro League, getting 7 goals and 6 assists. He also played 7 times across the Champions League with 2 goals and an assist in that competition as well. So you're talking about somebody who's experienced at the European level, not only just at the top level of Belgian football, but he has managed to play in the Champions League, which is of course what we're targeting. A former winner of the Belgian Pro League as well, so knows how to win trophies, which is always important with players that we bring into Celtic. I like the look of him a lot, and so does the Antwerp fans as well, who seem to be a fan of the player. This is somebody who would definitely, there is no doubt about it, upgrade the quality of what we have on the wings. Predominantly deployed as a left winger, can be played as a right winger as well, don't get me wrong, mostly a left winger. He would bring in strength on that left hand side. My only problem with it is the fact I think a right winger is more important in this window. He can play on the right, don't get me wrong, and maybe Celtic and Brendan Rodgers would play him there, but we've got Maiden Palma on the left, which I think is a lot better than Kuhn and Forrest on the right. Nonetheless, we need to improve in the wings. I think both wings could be doing with a general improvement, and this would be a good start. However, there's a big however. Currently valued at €9 million on Transfermarkt. That always means that the club themselves will probably be looking for more money. You're potentially talking about a £10 million player here. Are Celtic going to break the bank? Well, there's always doubts in that. We'll just need to wait and see. That's the only thing that throws me off this at all. As soon as I looked up his profile this morning, as soon as I done some reading into him and seen that he was valued around that sort of money, I thought, there's no way Celtic are going to go for it. However, when you think about this, right, Celtic are trying their best to sign these two goalkeepers, Kasper Schmeichel and of course the Sinisalo, the Finnish keeper as well, which could be for a combined fee of around £1 million. If even £1 million. Adamid and Paulo Bernardo, trying to bring them in for maybe a combined fee of around, I don't know, £8-9 million. That would be 4 players for £9 million straight away. We have a lot more. I was about to swear. I'm trying to keep my language good, right? We have a lot more bloody money in the bank than that. And Celtic do need to break the bank on a couple of players in this window. I think a winger would be a great statement as one of them, but definitely in the defensive side of things too. So there's no ruling out a £9 million player or anything like that. I think that it's perfectly feasible to suggest that Celtic might sign one player of that value, especially when Brendan Rodgers seems to be, by the looks of things, the guy making the signings in this window. And if he really wants him, if he really likes the look of this Balikwisha, Belgian winger, and he wants to spend the money, then I think the board could potentially do it. It's definitely not something to get your hopes up on, because we know what the board are like and we know what we're like with spending money. But I think that after the window is now kicked off in the way it has, with a few of these players coming in for fees that are cheaper than we expected, there's room to play with more money. Of course, just watch out for what happens with this one. We'll probably hear later in the week if this progresses any further past initial talks. But the article, just to reinforce, is saying that they have spoken to the entourage of the player, confirmed interest, and the clubs will talk this week to see if it goes any further. So we'll see by the end of the week. God, I have yapped today. We haven't even got into the last couple of stories, and I feel like I've went on far too long. Let's talk about Matt O'Reilly very, very quickly. More has come out about him. Another huge club is interested in our Danish sensation. This time it comes in the form of Italian giants Juventus, who are now apparently in the frame for Matt O'Reilly's signature. Outlet Tutto Sport in Italy is reporting that Juventus are now in the fold for Matt O'Reilly. No offers have been made by any stretch of the imagination, but basically saying that they are looking at the possibility of bringing in Matt O'Reilly of Celtic, depending on what happens with the Coop Minor situation and Atalanta. So it's another huge Italian club looking at the potential signing of Matt O'Reilly. The sporting director has apparently contacted Celtic and to inform them of their interest of Matt O'Reilly. They want economic details of the deal. That is what the article is essentially saying. So there is definite interest here if they have contacted the club. Once again, you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt, especially when they're coming from outlets abroad where we can't really know the authenticity or reliability of the journalists. If that's true, wave arrivederci to Matt O'Reilly. I can't see a world in which Juventus don't strike a deal, in which Matt O'Reilly doesn't push for the deal to be accepted. That's a huge opportunity, a huge move. So we'll wait and see what happens. But Juventus apparently now in the mix. And final one for today on this manic Monday in the world of Celtic transfers. O has officially left the club. Celtic announced it yesterday on their social media platforms that he's left to join Genk on a permanent deal. So farewell to O, and I wish him the absolute best of luck. Somebody who maybe at another time could have been a lot more used to Celtic, but it's just not worked out for him. However, just a quick detail on the transfer fee. There was a lot, and we spoke about this in the channel a few weeks ago. There was a lot of talk and stories saying that Celtic were looking for around £4 million for the South Korean on his way out of the club. But when the move came to light again a couple of days ago, there was no talk of numbers. Somebody ran with the story that it was still going to be around that £4.5 million mark. However, the same Belgian journalist, Sacha Tavalieri, has given us what seems to be the confirmed numbers, which is nowhere near that. This was his tweet, of course, Belgian journalist, so very close with sources at Genk. He's saying that the final agreement with Celtic for it was down at €2.7 million, with bonuses up to €1.2 million. There will be a percentage as well on a future resale should he leave Genk anytime under this contract. 2.7 million, 1.2 million, you do the maths, it's about, what, 3.9 million euros, it's closer to 3 million quid. That's still profit on what we paid. Celtic reportedly signed for a fee of £2.5 million back in January 2023. So we've made profit, very little profit. However, they'll be hoping the big money comes if the move goes well and he moves on from Genk for a significant number. That's the deal. Cheerio, wish you the best of luck. It was nice knowing you. Well then, there you go. You're kind of up to date. I feel like for yapping as much as I have and for talking for as long as I have, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface with a few of these stories. So pardon me for rushing if I have, but I hope you're up to date. We will be here. I'm away on holiday on Friday, but until Friday I will be here every single day keeping up with all of these stories, and who knows, maybe tonight we'll be back on the channel again if some big development happens. You know what to do to stay intact with all the stories. Stay in the know. Like, subscribe. I'll see you all next time.